and did a podcast, a white podcast. You sat your for almost 2 hours
and didn't leave,
and you talk. And the white folk asked you, was you a professional officer?
Yeah.
We would have never asked you that, nigga. We got respect for you.
Right.
And you sat right there and you answered that question so eloquently, like it wasn't even disrespectful. And then I get to sit back and watch that. And what's the difference between them and us?
Okay.
Now I feel disrespect.
Right.
Don't do us like that. And it's still love, but
the situation between DC Young Fly and Rick Ross has officially evolved into one of the most talked about and viral showdowns in hip-hop. What began as a comedic jab has turned into a cultural spectacle, capturing the attention of fans and media everywhere. During a live event, DC directly called Ross a fraud in front of the crowd, sparking a wave of reactions online. Ross, never one to shy away from controversy, attempted to respond with a carefully crafted boss message designed to restore his image. He filmed a composed video inside his lavish mansion, complete with designer shades, multiple gold chains, and a cigar in hand, almost like a promotional spot for one of his business ventures. Speaking slowly and deliberately, he said that real bosses don't respond to clowns, and that while critics count views, bosses count money. He even took a jab at DC by labeling him a court jester who should be grateful for the free publicity. But the audience wasn't impressed. Fans flooded his social media, mocking the entire performance, calling him Rick rehearsed and pointing out how nervous he appeared. The so-called calm confidence failed to land, and that's when DC doubled down. Hours later, he released a reaction video that sent the internet into a frenzy. In the clip, DC hilariously mimicked Ross's tone and delivery, mocking him for sounding like he was reading a script. He then delivered a cutting punchline saying that real bosses don't have to convince anyone they're bosses. Pacing around the room, he exaggerated Ross's mannerisms, fake-counted imaginary stacks of money, and pretended to polish non-existent luxury cars. And the internet absolutely exploded with laughter. The moment DC's reaction video hit social media, it spread like wildfire across every major platform. The Shade Room, Hollywood Unlocked, Academics, and countless other outlets shared the clip within hours. What made the video land so powerfully was that DC wasn't angry or aggressive. He was witty, playful, and precise. His delivery blended sharp humor with a dose of reality, striking a nerve with viewers who felt he was saying what many had been thinking for years. One of the most talked about moments came when DC joked, "Ross out here flexing with 20 cars but can't drive his ego through a drive-thru." The crowd erupted with laughter online, and he followed it up with another haymaker. "You supposed to be a boss, but every time you talk, you sound like an employee reading the mission statement." Social media went wild. Fans turned the jokes into viral memes, photoshopping Ross's face onto fake job applications, placing him in a Wingstop uniform, and flooding comment sections with the tagline, "Fraud Forever." Even celebrities couldn't resist joining the fun. Lil Duval dropped laughing emojis under DC's post, while 21 Savage reposted the clip with the caption, "DC undefeated."
You had a chance to talk to Ross since he walked off on y'all?
We were just talking to Angie Martinez about that yesterday. We in Atlanta, so we run into him all the time. He do car shows. It ain't never been no hard feeling.
I don't want to say no hard feeling.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, first of all, I don't give
Yeah, I get it.
But I give a because
Try to make
you as a person.
Yeah.
We the type of people that will never bring up nothing that we feel like that can be diminished to your career or anything, nigga, because we some real niggas.
Yeah.
The moment you leave our show.
It became clear that DC wasn't roasting Ross simply for attention. He was exposing the hollowness behind fake confidence and inflated egos in the industry, showing how comedy can often cut deeper than anger ever could. The fans loved every second of it. The critics had nothing to counter with, and Ross, usually quick to clap back, suddenly went silent. DC had turned what could have been a heated argument into a viral cultural moment, proving that authenticity speaks louder than material displays. Once that video soared into the millions of views, the scoreboard was undeniable. DC had decisively taken round 2 of this feud. After that viral roast, Rick Ross's reputation on social media began to crumble in real time. The memes didn't just circulate, they took over the internet, turning DC Young Fly's response into a full-scale cultural moment. Every clip, remix, and edit featured DC's jokes echoing across timelines, with one line in particular becoming a catchphrase: "You a boss, but can't even boss your own image." The mockery snowballed so hard that a Rick Ross challenge started trending, with users posting fake motivational speeches in exaggerated deep voices while holding chicken wings or stacking Monopoly money. It was brutal, but also undeniably hilarious. What truly set this situation apart, however, was how DC played his cards. He never lost his temper or turned the feud into a shouting match. Instead, he doubled down on humor, proving that laughter can be more powerful than any diss track. The very next day, he released another parody video, this time sitting on a couch with sunglasses, mimicking Ross's slow tone. "Every time I see DC, I see a hater," he said in a deep voice before bursting into laughter and delivering the punchline, "Nah, every time we see you, we see a liar." The clip went mega viral once again, racking up millions of views within hours. At that point, the public had clearly chosen their champion. DC was seen as the voice of the people, funny, authentic, and quick on his feet. Rick Ross, by contrast, looked like someone desperately trying to hold on to a fading image, struggling to convince anyone that he still had the upper hand.
Came on face, homie, to show love. And don't make it like I walked off on you. I left early. Rose had some other things to do too. But guess what? I came for free, nigga. I wasted that nice Gucci jacket on that look, man. I couldn't even really wear my Gucci jacket again. But my nigga, I did it for love. And next time I come for free, at least have me some lemon pepper Wingstop at that. Heard me? But I came for free. I ain't charge you. You feel me? Don't talk about Rose got the business. I came and did that for free.
To make matters worse, fans began resurfacing old interviews and clips of Ross contradicting himself over the years, adding more fuel to the fire and painting a picture of a man who had built his brand on stories that didn't always line up with reality. Interviews where Rick Ross once boasted about his wealth but stumbled over simple business questions started resurfacing everywhere. Fans also began sharing clips where he contradicted himself about his rise to fame, switching key details of his story depending on the platform. DC's sharp commentary didn't just sting, it highlighted real inconsistencies that many had ignored for years. Suddenly, Ross's carefully built boss persona started to look more like a performance than reality. The impact was so strong that even major platforms took notice. The Breakfast Club dedicated an entire segment to the situation, with Charlemagne the God declaring that DC had won the internet. He explained that DC accomplished something few could. He made Rick Ross look human. And that, Charlemagne argued, was exactly why people gravitated toward DC's message. He wasn't trying to destroy Ross's legacy or start unnecessary drama. He was saying out loud what much of the public had been thinking quietly for a long time. Then came an unexpected twist. Several people from Ross's circle reportedly reached out to DC behind the scenes, asking him to tone things down before the situation spiraled out of control. But DC didn't back down. During another live stream, he fired back confidently, "If you don't want smoke, stop acting like you want smoke. I'm a comedian, not a yes man." That unwavering attitude only boosted the respect people had for him. By this point, DC's fraud remark had evolved into something bigger than a diss. It became a movement. Every time Ross posted on social media, his comment section was flooded with one word: fraud. The message was loud and clear. The public had shifted its perception. No amount of polished speeches or boss talk could undo the damage. The narrative had flipped completely, and DC Young Fly had emerged as the unlikely voice holding one of hip-hop's biggest moguls accountable. But this clash didn't stay confined to social media. It completely took over the broader entertainment landscape. It spilled into podcasts, radio debates, YouTube commentary channels, and even live events. Everywhere DC Young Fly showed up, interviewers and fans alike wanted to know one thing: what did he think about Rick Ross now? And in classic DC fashion, he never dodged the topic. During one of his sold-out comedy shows, DC took the jabs to another level. "Rick Ross said he's a boss," he joked on stage, "but I heard he got a curfew." The audience erupted. People jumped to their feet, laughing and cheering, recording the moment on their phones. Clips from that night went viral across platforms, with fans declaring that DC had retired Ross from ever trying to present himself as untouchable again. It was more than a joke. It was a cultural moment. Meanwhile, Rick Ross tried desperately to reclaim his image. He flooded his social media with clips of himself on private jets, feeding bison at his mansion, and talking about generational wealth, the usual displays meant to remind people of his success. But this time, instead of admiration, the posts drew ridicule. Comments like, "You feeding cows but couldn't feed that response," and "Where's DC? We need another episode," flooded his pages. The roasting became so relentless that even other celebrities joined the fun. Kevin Hart reposted one of DC's viral videos with the caption, "This man don't miss." Lil Duval quipped that DC had Ross looking like a motivational speaker for frauds. And in true fashion, 50 Cent couldn't resist throwing his own jab, posting a meme of Ross with the caption, "You can't be the boss if you're scared of comedy." At this point, it was no longer a simple back and forth. It was a full-on cultural takedown. Ross's attempts to flex his wealth and power were now overshadowed by a comedian with nothing but a microphone and sharp wit, proving that authenticity and humor could dismantle even the most polished personas in hip-hop. Once 50 Cent decided to jump into the situation, the narrative shifted completely. That was the moment many knew things had gone too far for Rick Ross to bounce back easily. With 50 adding fuel to the fire, the internet officially turned against Ross. But through it all, DC Young Fly remained grounded. He didn't let the viral fame or overwhelming support change how he moved. In a recent interview, he made it clear, "It's all love. I don't hate anybody. But if you're fake, I'm going to call it out. Simple as that." That raw honesty is exactly why his fan base continues to grow. He says what many people are already thinking. DC's approach was refreshing in an industry often built on image and illusion. He wasn't trying to paint himself as flawless or play a character. He was simply calling out contradictions and doing it with humor. But Ross, still determined to reclaim the narrative, made one last attempt to clap back. He posted a picture flaunting large stacks of cash with a caption that read, "Can't hear broke jokes over these hundreds." Unfortunately, that move backfired immediately. The comments were ruthless. Fans flooded his post with DC quotes, clown emojis, and non-stop jokes. One comment that gained thousands of likes read, "You got money, but DC got the moment." Another added, "Money can't buy authenticity, big fella." In less than a day, the post racked up over 100,000 comments, the majority roasting Ross for missing the point. Even people who had never followed DC before admitted they respected how he handled the situation. The entire ordeal became a masterclass in humility. It proved that one perfectly timed viral moment, when backed by authenticity and truth, could shatter even the strongest public persona. DC didn't need wealth, flashy displays, or industry connections to dominate the narrative. All it took was confidence, comedic precision, and the courage to speak openly. Weeks later, the dust still hasn't completely settled. Ross has remained noticeably quiet, and when he does speak publicly, his words are calculated, cautious, and far less boastful than before. Meanwhile, DC's victory continues to resonate across the culture, showing that in the age of social media, honesty and timing will always hit harder than money and manufactured power. No more boss talk. No more "I'm untouchable." That larger-than-life image Rick Ross carefully built over decades took a massive hit, and deep down, the entire culture knows DC Young Fly was the one who delivered that blow. But what made the situation even more impactful was that DC didn't just stop after humiliating Ross online. He flipped the moment into pure momentum. Within weeks, he was booking bigger comedy shows, receiving offers from major brands, and watching his social media following explode. What started as a heated back and forth turned into a strategic career boost that elevated him to an entirely new level. During a podcast interview, DC shared a quote that summed up the entire situation perfectly. "When you're real, you don't gotta prove it. The truth gonna echo louder than money ever will." That single line went viral on every platform and resonated deeply across hip-hop and entertainment circles. Fans said that statement officially closed the book on the Ross feud. Even critics who once labeled DC as too goofy began acknowledging him as one of the most authentic and respected voices in comedy and culture. Rick Ross, meanwhile, shifted into full damage control mode. Publicly, he stayed uncharacteristically quiet. According to insiders, he was still angry behind the scenes, but on social media, he pivoted to posting fitness updates, motivational quotes, and promotions for his businesses. Yet no matter how hard he tried to redirect the narrative, people only remembered one thing. DC Young Fly shattered the myth of his invincibility and made him look human, something no amount of money or luxury cars could erase. The internet made the verdict clear. Every fan page, meme account, and hip-hop blog crowned DC the undisputed winner. And the wildest part, he never resorted to cheap insults or personal attacks. He didn't drag Ross's past or disrespect his family. Instead, he simply pulled back the curtain and exposed how much of Ross's boss persona was performance. With humor, honesty, and perfect timing, DC Young Fly managed to do what few in the industry ever could. Strip away the facade and remind everyone that authenticity always wins in the end. In the weeks that followed, the DC Young Fly versus Rick Ross saga evolved from a viral moment into a full-blown cultural talking point, one that revealed just how fragile manufactured images in hip-hop can be when confronted with authenticity. Industry insiders began dissecting the situation, calling it a modern-day case study in power dynamics. A self-made comedian with no label backing or billion-dollar brand had gone head-to-head with one of rap's most self-proclaimed moguls, and won decisively. What made this even more significant was how the narrative shifted beyond entertainment. Analysts on major podcasts and media outlets started using the feud as an example of the changing landscape in hip-hop and celebrity culture. In a world where audiences are more skeptical than ever, flashy displays of wealth and over-the-top boss talk no longer hold the same power. People are drawn to transparency, vulnerability, and realness, and DC embodied all three. His comedic approach stripped away the intimidation factor and forced Ross's image to be examined under a much more critical lens. Meanwhile, Ross's empire began showing subtle cracks. Brand partners reportedly grew concerned about the negative press surrounding his name. Some quietly paused campaigns while others asked for new public relations strategies to distance themselves from the controversy. Insiders claimed Ross held several private meetings with his team to discuss damage control, even considering new music releases to change the conversation. But the internet, as always, had a longer memory than expected, and every attempt to move on was met with comments, memes, and reminders of DC's now legendary fraud punchline. DC, however, continued his rise. He booked a comedy special inspired by the feud, titled Truth Over Talk, and teased a possible collaboration with other comedians and artists centered on exposing fake industry personas. It was no longer just about Rick Ross. It was about an entire culture that often rewards appearances over authenticity. And through wit, timing, and an unshakable sense of confidence, DC Young Fly proved that truth, especially when delivered with a smile, can dismantle even the most powerful illusions. And that's exactly why the internet crowned DC the undisputed winner of this entire situation. Fans everywhere are now demanding he take things even further, calling for a full show where he roasts celebrities, exposes fake industry personas, and keeps that same raw, unfiltered energy that made this feud unforgettable. It's bigger than jokes at this point. DC showed that being real is more powerful than any luxury car, mansion, or million-dollar brand deal. What started as a simple clapback turned into a cultural reset. It proved that in a world obsessed with image and status, authenticity will always break through the noise. People are tired of facades and empty boss talk. They want truth, even if it's delivered with a punchline. And DC Young Fly gave them exactly that, flipping a public feud into a defining moment that reminded everyone that realness is still the most valuable currency in the game. So what do you think? Will DC take this momentum and build an entire platform out of it? Or has he already proven his point without needing to say another word? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the moments shaking up the culture. The next chapter of this story is just getting started.